Well, hello everyone. Welcome to the Bitcoin market update for Brave New Coin. I'm your host, Carl, lead trader and portfolio manager at Techemy Capital. Quick disclaimer, this video does not constitute financial advice and is intended for educational purpose only. Well, folks, I'm very excited to be providing you this market update. It's been a while. Time has not been on my side, and I do want to apologize for the previous video that had an audio issue. I'm still trying to resolve that issue, but I did some tests, and so far the audio seems crisp and clear. There's a piece of equipment on my computer that looks like it's overheating, so I put a fan on it. It shouldn't cause an issue right now, but I'm still working on resolving that right now. Anyways, a lot has happened since last time, so I will go over the charts since the previous video was the audio was not great. Again, I hope some of you, I know some of you gave me feedback that was not working, but some of you also told me that you put the subtitles on YouTube and then you were able to listen to it. So that's great, because otherwise you would have missed out on great calls that I made, which I'll overview here on this video. And honestly, since then, I'm not going to talk deeply about that, but the FTX collapsed. Since the last time I put in market update, I was able, honestly guys, to exit FTX US maybe 3 days before the whole thing really collapsed, and I was really lucky. This is the second time I survived, and like I've been roughly trading since 2013, so yeah, almost 9 years in the crypto space. I narrowly escaped to have my whole portfolio wiped. Not wise, I know, but I was able to escape through USDC on FTX US and go back to Coinbase that week. I'm very lucky, honestly, and thankful that I made it out. So if you guys lost some money out there, I feel you. I was very close to having survived the Bitfinex before, like, Bitfinex got hacked. Back in what was it, 2016, or it could be 2017. My memory is not. I can't recall exactly the time, but yeah, I saw that coming back then, and I exited Bitfinex a few weeks before it got hacked. They had a lot of issues happening in the back end. They used to freeze trading, and here I read the news, and I was like, oh crap! It looks like Sam. There's something up with Sam, and I right away exited FTX. I don't want to be there anymore, so right now I'm sticking to Coinbase, and I withdrew some of my capital to the bank, trying just to wait it out, see what happens with the market. It looks like there could be some other cascading companies that could cascade down into insolvency, right? 134 companies that FTX dealt with or owned is a mix. Again, don't want to get too much in details, but I'm waiting a little bit right now to see what happens, and before I get back into the market and buy Bitcoin long term. All right, let's dive into the charts, guys. Without further ado, let's look at the SP 500. We'll look at the DXY, SP 500, and NASDAQ, and then I'll jump on the Bitcoin charts and give you guys a great update. All right, starting with the DXY. If you guys remember last market update, we talked about the rising wedge that we see here, which is a typical bearish reversal pattern, and the similarity that it has with the 2000-2002 dot-com bubble and recession. I think we are in a similar state right now in the global macros that we have across globally on the markets. And if you remember at that time on the previous video, I said, since they're both seems to me falling wedges, I believe I took a snapshot of that action at that time back in 2000 on the DXY, and I slapped it right here. And I did tell you guys when we were 110, 111, I was like, I think DXY could flush down and retest 106, and here you go, guys, it did. We followed down precisely the fractal. And I think here we're finding support on DXY, and we should see with the next 2 to 3 months, DXY try to rebuild a rally, go back up to 108, and eventually, I would say like Q1, Q2 2023, we would retest the top of the rising wedge around 115, and maybe even a little bit higher. Maybe we can go to 118. And then we'll go back down, we test 110, and then we would zigzag our way here, probably do some sideways at those levels. And then I think it looks toppy to me, the DXY. So we'll stay here though for a little while, roughly till, April 2024, before it breaks down. But I think we're gonna be between 106 and 116 or 118 level within that rising wedge, well contained until then, and then we would break down when the recession is over, or the markets are ready to rally, and DXY loses those levels. All right, guys, that's it for DXY. Let's move on to the SP 500 chart. So the blue fractal reminder is a fractal of the 2002.com bubble. So far, it looks like since my last call, if you guys remember, we took out the lows here, made lower lows. That said, SP 500 is rallying. It looks like here at 3,900, 4,000 resistance, looks like we broke up from it finally. The market now looks like SP 500 is heading up, maybe to 4,100, 4,150. I think this would be the top, personally, I would think. And we would top somewhere here. And in Q1 2023, I think we would get the recession officially hitting us, or officially, stated by the government that we're in a recession. And maybe we would go retest those lows now in January or February. Now, I don't know what would happen there. We either would, break back up from here, we hold those levels, or we would come back. Let me color this green for the next time. Right, or we would follow the blue fractal of the recessions of 2000, 2002, and we would break down towards new lows toward 3,200, and maybe we would bottom here. Maybe we would not see that sell-off down to 2,600. I'm not too sure, honestly. The market is extremely complex right now. Although the global macro situation doesn't seem to be improving. I think we're still seeing a lot of issues with supply chain, the housing market. The prices are heading down further. It's a tough call. So I would say, let's wait to see what happens. But I'm pretty sure here around 4,100, 4,150 we would find the top. Now, if we don't and we break out past 4,200, then take out those highs, and we may have bottom on the equities and the markets, and which will prove me wrong for further downside into the following the recession fractal of 2000, 2002. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think I still stick to my call for now, that the market would see another sell-off from 4,100, 4,150, and we would go back, take out the lows at 3,000, 3,500, and go down to 3,200. Then at that time, we'll reevaluate again. But I think we would see a bottom sometimes in February, or March tops on the SP 500. Whether it's lower or a little bit higher, at 3,200 or at 3,600 or 500, I think this is where the ultimate bottom will happen on the SP 500 and NASDAQ. So we're looking again, I'm looking roughly at February to March. Cool. All right, similarly, NASDAQ, this was my call last time. We didn't break down on NASDAQ. You see the red fractal. 10,200 was the bottom, but we had a rally instead, and we broke back up. We never had this continuation down towards 7,000 on NASDAQ. So I think right now, similar to the SP 500, looks like we are topping here on Nasdaq. The max I can see it going is 11,700, 11,900. So assuming this is the top here, I think we would start to see SP 500 and Nasdaq, or the Nasdaq in this case, sell off back down into January and retest that low. Now, if that low gives in, okay, if we lose that low, then I think we would find a bottom somewhere at 8,800, give and take. Now, if that doesn't hold us, then yeah, we would go follow the recession factor towards 6,800. So we'll see what happens, but we have a lot to go. So with the situation globally, complex situation globally, I think, yeah, we'll be looking at this kind of action. But right now, we're still below that resistance here. If we break above 12,000 and then head back up to 12,500, take out that resistance and make a higher high, then definitely the bottom is in. But right now, what I think would happen is something like this. We test the lows at 10,200. Comes February, if the situation globally is good, I don't know, I think we hit the recession and we'll go back down. But if, for example, the market seems good and the Feds start to stop hiking the rates, right? And they pivot, then maybe here we would get a breakout and the bulls take over and we're back in a bull market. But it's too early to tell, guys. I think right now that's what I'm looking at. I think I still side with the red bearish scenario here that I'm putting out, expecting the recession to be official by Q1 or Q2 2023. So we'll see what happens, but that's my 2 cents on this. All right, let's move on to the Bitcoin charts and market update. I'm going to start with the liquidation map from the Kingfisher. Right now, Bitcoin is 16,544, give and take, at the time of this video. Right, 3 hours or so, 3 hours and a half before the weekly candle closes and a new one opens. We are at those levels. As we see, we have a lot of longs to liquidate, between $15,000 down to $11,000 on Bitcoin. Yet we have also for some reason, the shorters are shorting at this level at 16,500, which is a terrible idea. I don't know why would anyone do this, but maybe it's a hedge or so. But that's a very silly area here to go short on Bitcoin, because their liquidation is right at those levels, at that level, 16,000 to 17,000. But the biggest cluster are 16,600 and 16,500. But it makes sense to me that we would go up a little bit from here, maybe to 17,000. But I don't see why we would go further up from here. Honestly, I think we could go up 16,800, maybe 17,000, and then get rejected, and then we flush down. And I'm thinking we would go down and go after those longs, liquidate all those longs down to $11,000, $12,000. On the upside, we see it's 19,000. There's shorts to liquidate there, 19,200, 19,500. And also some shorts at 20,500, 22,000. 21,800, 22,000. And then the biggest chunk of shorts will be at 24,600, which, well, I'll review on the chart, is actually the top of the logarithmic bear parallel channel on Bitcoin, meaning that level is actually a very crucial level. If we break that level, we're back into a bull market. So breaking 24,000 would bring us back into a bull market. So let's go jump into that actually in a minute. Last thing I want to talk about will be how are the longs versus shorts positions on Bitcoin. So on Bitcoin, we see here that 60% of the traders are long, while 40% are shorts. I think the longs are quite high. I think we still head down personally for that final leg down that is currently in progress on Bitcoin. And take out all those longs, get that capitulation finalized, and then we can get that bottom in and start accumulating for the long term with the market makers and the whales. But right now, yeah, I still don't see it. Let's move on here to the CME chart, CME gaps. If you remember from the last video, I did say that I believe that we would, like I plotted here in green, we would head down and close that gap, fill that gap on CME at 17,300, 16,300, and that has finally been completed. So I'm happy to remove that gap right now, clear this out. And now my next call is still that we would go down, fill that gap by 19,500, put in a final bottom, and finally we can move on and start our bear market. So I think I'm still rooting for the downside here on Bitcoin. Nothing has changed. I've been saying the same thing for the past 5 to 6 months. Videos are out there. You guys can go back and see. I have not changed my mind on this. Okay. Once we put that bottom, then we can head back up, close that gap at $27,000, $28,000. In validation of my call will be a on this call mainly would be reclaiming $19,000 as support, $19,500, $19,000 as support. So breaking back up and retesting that successfully, that level. All right, let's move on, guys, to the monthly chart. One of my favorite time frame on Bitcoin, gets rid of all the noise, and I've been successfully, as you guys know, looking at the monthly and making proper calls for the past, since the early this year. I've been making those calls, successful calls from here, calling out that we would bounce off the mid band of the monthly Bollinger Band, which was at 34K, and we did. We spent a lot of time there, and my call was we would break down that mid band similar to 2018 when we broke it and flushed down at least 50%, and we did so, right? We did so, and those are the scenarios I said from there. I was like, okay, we're gonna bottom here at 17, 18Ks, and we're gonna move back up here to 25K, 24, 27Ks, and we did find resistance at 25K. So I'm gonna clean this up with you guys here on this video, and as you see, this never materialized. I'm like, hey guys, I'm still thinking we would get another leg down on Bitcoin, and I'm rooting for the purple fractal to play out right towards 12 to 9K, and that will be the final bottom, right? I've been saying this for like 5 months now, and so far it's playing out as anticipated. It was here, I did say that let's give it some time, but if I'm wrong, I'm happy to be wrong, and if Bitcoin starts following back the blue fractal, and we break back up, then I'm happy to call that my call was wrong, to say my call was wrong. But so far, I've been on the spot on this, right? So this did not play out, this blue fractal, right? We never got the logarithmic log scale ellipse or the bottom support here to hold up as it did in the previous year. And I did say it's because the global macros are unprecedented, and we have a lot of events globally that are driving the markets much lower than they are, and that Bitcoin has never been in a recession before. So that's why this model is breaking. Probably before the next video on Bitcoin, I'll most likely get rid of those log ellipse, and as I think they are breaking, but I'll leave them a little bit longer maybe, and just to make sure they're fully broken, but I will not readjust these ones for now until I see where the Bitcoin has bottom. That's my plan, is to leave them and call them as broken So unlike other traders who are like just constantly readjusting those ellipse, I'm not going to do that right now. And my call was always that they will fail and break. Okay. Anyway, so going back to this, I'm going to delete this fractal. Right now, I'll be looking at putting this as blue. And this will be my call. I'm going to readjust this briefly. I think this what will happen is we'll put a bottom. As always, we've been discussing that. 517 days before the halving, we typically see Bitcoin putting a bottom, right? So that brings us into the December to February timeframe across the board, right? Here, if we look back at 2018, November we had a sell-off, December we put a bottom, and February, March we started moving back up slowly while putting a nice bottom in. And same back in 2015, January came, give and take, February and March, we had a bottom at that point. So I think it's fair to say that Bitcoin is in a bottoming, is very close to bottoming, right? Number one. Number two is we still have some time to go. So into January, February, I think there's no rush for me to buy because I think we will be here for a little longer. And I want to see what happens in December and January on Bitcoin before I start buying long term. But I'm my hands are very itchy. My fingers are very itchy to buy right now, guys. You guys don't understand. So if you did start to buy on Bitcoin, then great. I think why not? You can start buying. This is the bottoming, the bottom timing, the timing for a bottom. I've been talking for so long, and it's here, right? So if you want to do so, you can start buying long-term right here. At the top here, I was like, yeah, you could buy long-term. I wasn't buying, honestly. I was not buying. I was very confident that we're going to flush down further. All right, but here you can, guys, I did my job, right? I told you guys at these levels here, this is not time to DCA in while many people were telling you to, right? All the way down from 30Ks, mid 30Ks, 20Ks, and all that. I think now I've done my job. I think 17Ks and lower is a good time to start DCing in. At least I wasn't like others who told you to start buying in from 40, 30K, which was a terrible entry, right? So, all right, let's give it a little longer, but this looks good. We are entering the bottoming range, bottoming time, and we have this rounding bottom that I want to see similar to other bear market form. And like I discussed with you guys before, we are in this bear parallel log channel, similar to previous bear markets, which I want Bitcoin to test the bottom of it, which is currently at 10,000, 9,200. There's a chance that we could cap it a little lower if I extend this here a little bit. We could see that it could go down to 8,000 or 7,400. That is a possibility, but you really need some global macros or further block swan event, like, I don't know, Barry Silbert's Genesis and what else? Like the digital group, global group to file for bankruptcy or something. I don't know. There's a lot of things that could happen. So we'll have to see how things unfold in the next month to 3 months, right? But I would say we are closing on the bottom. We just have to be careful here. If any news comes and flush us down further, I don't know. That's very possible. But for now, I would say, yeah, this looks good. I'll put this back here. I think to be consistent and not too bearish either, I think we could see, yeah, I still stick with my bottom call around 10,000 to 9,500, which would be a nice capitulation if we get there in coming month or 3 months. Now, if I'm wrong, right, there's a possibility, let's say, I don't know, comes December, which is starting next week, we get that monthly candle closed. We could see maybe Bitcoin refusing to sell down further. Maybe it will just chop around here until February, March, and then it could start moving back up in March and break that top of the bear parallel channel on the log scale, right? If we do so, that would mark, as always in the past we've seen, it marked always the return of the bull market. So then that's when we want to buy in, right? So if you want to wait till that time, you can definitely do so. That's not a bad idea, viewing the bad global macros events we're in and the chance of recession and such. So that's a possibility, okay? And if again, I'm proven wrong and we don't go further down, we could go back up here, and I don't know if there's a catalyst to do that. I don't see it yet, but we could regain the, like I said, 19,500, 20,000 as support, and we go back up, test the top of the bear log parallel channel, which is now at 23,800 or 24,000. If we break 24,000, we close a monthly above it, and we start going up very hard. That tells me we're back in a bull market, right? And we go back up and expect the monthly band to be tested, mid band currently, which is what, at 36,000, 37,000. But for now, that's very hard to see. I would say most likely we'll see some sideways here at those levels until February. And if we cannot break down, then we would slowly start to see Bitcoin putting in some green weekly and monthly candles here on this chart. But for now, I think I would just think that comes the next monthly close, we would see something like this happening, a continuation to the downside and final capitulation. All right. Remember, guys, what we talked about before is we have a 3 derive pattern. So we have 1, 2, and now finally we are getting our 3rd drive down, which is the final leg down to put in this final bottom. But similar to previous bear markets, which is 1, 2, and 3, right? And the 2014 one, 1, 2, and 3, right? So let's see what happens. I'm still very convinced we have a 3rd leg down on Bitcoin. Let's give it some time and be patient. But at least now you guys know the invalidation targets, right? Let me see here. This is a squeeze momentum indicator. Nothing here has changed. Typically, its momentum indicator on the monthly is laggy. Let's have a look at the SOPR compared to 2018 bottom. We have still some capitulation. Capitulation is not an end per this. We would need to see minus 255. Back in 2015, 14, we saw also a wick down to minus 3 or minus 2. So I still think we have some, yep, that still tells me we still have some downside to go, okay? All right, let's move on to the next chart. You guys are all familiar with this chart, which I think I've been posting this chart, the worst outcome on Bitcoin for like at least 5 to 6 months. Many people were laughing at me, but this is still showing the potential drawdown from the all-time high of Bitcoin compared to previous bear market, which were all 84% from the all-time high. So I think it's fair that, hey, the previous bear market on Bitcoin did not have bad global bad macros, did not have like whatever you want to call it, housing bubble popping or correction, did not have the Feds intervening like we did right now, and did not have a recession. Bitcoin has never had a recession before in the previous bear markets. So if we did the previous bear markets 84% drawdown from the all-time high, why, guys, we would not get an 84% drawdown in the current situation? Why would we just, everybody's thinking we would just stop here, which is roughly, what is that, 70, 73, 70, man, this thing is, what the trading you did here, do here with this tool. But anyways, like, yeah, like why would we, what is that, let me use this. Why would we do 77%? That doesn't make sense. We're in a recession where the economy is in shambles. There's a lot of issues still going on. We have China supply chains. It looks like it's still going to keep going because they have those lockdowns going on for COVID in China. So I think the minimum we should see on Bitcoin, and it makes still total sense to me, is a drawdown of at minimum 84%, which will bring us down to roughly $11,000 to $9,000 on Bitcoin. That's been my call for a bottom here, right, for a while. Now, anything lower, I don't know. That's really has to be seen, because there's nothing right now pointing to much lower, looking at the situation globally, unless the recession is super bad in Q1 2023 into Q2. But so far, there's no sign that it's going to be super bad. So I think I'm looking at 84%, and I'll be quite humble to buy there and be happy with it to get some Bitcoin long-term there. If I have the chance, of course, right? There's nothing such as certainty, you know? It's uncertain if we get there. I don't know. But I would say 84% makes total sense, right? Because of the recession. At minimum, we should be able to get there. And the other ones are, the other drawdowns would be 90%, would be, the target would be roughly 7,400, 6,400. And the 94% drawdown will roughly bring us down to 4,000, 4,500, 3,500, I would say, give and take. But again, nothing is pointing to those. I'm just looking at 84% drawdown. I'll be quite happy with that, right? I'll definitely load up at least 50% at that level. All right, let's move on. Don't want to waste too much time either. So here, this is our good old faithful Amazon recession fractal from 2000, 2002. It's been, you know, I wouldn't use that fractal to trade, but it's been quite helpful in making me not FOMO into the market. And as we discussed before, the extremities, or the peak and the bottoms of the blue fractals have been quite on spot with Bitcoin reaching those targets. So if you look at 29,000, if you look at this week in blue at 64, 65,000, if you look at this week here, roughly at 65, 66,000, we got to 69,000, but it was the top, right? And give and take here, again, we have 39K that held at that time. So it's been quite helpful, honestly. I would say it's helpful. It's a helpful fractal. That's why I don't want to get rid of it anytime soon. And also, if you look here, this bottom here at 17,500, we had a wick similar to that area on the fractal itself from Amazon, from the dot-com bubble and recession fractal. So in here, well, sure, we didn't get some wicks as high as the 32 or 28K per, because of the, I don't know, the Bitcoin market is much more weaker than anticipated. But if you look here, I did point out the last few videos that Bitcoin topped at 22, 23Ks, and most likely it will not get back above this level right here at 21, 22Ks. And it did fail at that time right here. Now, of course, you can argue that the FTX collapse did this and caused this sell-off. I don't know. I'm just pointing out that it's very, I don't think it's a coincidence that we topped at 21, 22K and we flushed down here. And we're well still within a falling wedge, right? Bull reversal pattern on Bitcoin right now, right? So right now we did get that sell-off, and I still think we will get to go down to 14,500, right? This area here, and which is a good support here if you look back here, right? And in the coming month, I think we go down to 14,500 and find a bottom roughly at 12,500, 12,600, give and take, which would be the tip of the falling wedge, right? And Amazon did the same thing. Actually, if you guys look, it wasn't a falling wedge as well back in the recession of 2000, 2002. So this makes total sense to me that we would see something similar to this. Now, if we come here and comes December, January, we're still at those levels actually here at 16,000, fair enough. Okay, then we might have, if we break up from this falling wedge, right? Which actually, let me zoom in. Right, we see here we have a daily Bollinger squeeze on Bitcoin. I would think, yeah, we go down, but in case we go up right now from here, okay? In case we go up, I don't know. I don't think it will happen, but in case we go up, the top will be at $18,000. I would be very surprised if we break that, right? But I would think that would be the top at 18,000, and we go back down, get a rejection, goes into December. We'll go down to 12,500 based on this falling wedge and fractal, and that will be the bottom. That would be an amazing opportunity as well to buy some Bitcoin there for the long term. And from here, it looks like, I don't know if we'll do something similar to Amazon, but it could be like a quick capitulation there. I don't know if we undershoot it and go down to 11, 10K, but this could be possible that we could break out of this wedge and go back up to 16, 17,000 at top there. So that would make total sense if we go that way. Or we don't have to go to 18,000. I still think the inevitable is that we would sell off early this new week to $12,000. Now it's possible that we can hold 14,500 and chop lower and bleed slowly into December, January, and finally reach 12,500, 600, but that's yet to be seen, right? But I think it's inevitable we should get that sell-off following give and take the Amazon fractal here. So we'll see what happens, and we'll see what happens later on. Maybe I think February. Yeah, sure. If we get that bottom here at 12,000, 12Ks roughly, we go back up, top at 16K. Everybody will be calling, "Oh my God, we're gonna moon to 100K. The bull market is starting." And then, sure not, then we have the recession maybe that would hit us in Q1, Q2, and then maybe we see Bitcoin show some weakness that is unprecedented and go back down, retest the 12K, or maybe in that case, I don't know if we'll follow the Amazon fractal, but then we'll go down to 10Ks, right? And then we'll put in the bottom here, and that will be like total capitulation as everybody has given up on Bitcoin. Because right now, guys, I don't see people having given up on Bitcoin yet. If you look on social media, on Twitter, a lot of people are still bullish. Same people telling you that we're bullish from here all the way down from mid 30s down to 20Ks. Same people are still telling you they're bullish, and they're very confident in holding in that loss that they've been telling you to DC in, that they've been DCing in from the highs. So I don't know. These people are still saying, "Oh, hold, let's keep buying all the way down." I don't know. These people are gonna have to capitulate because they've been awfully wrong. Okay. So let's see what happens, but yeah, in my opinion, this is great fractal. And if you look also here, I'll spend extra time on this. I've repeated this in the past. You see here, we have a pattern here in red of, let me zoom in. I think my screen is 4K. I know some people might have a hard time seeing, but if you look at previous cycles on Bitcoin, Bitcoin has always done, at least in the previous bear market, an inverted cup and handle reversal pattern. It's a bearish reversal pattern. So you see here we have one, and the target was 3Ks, right? And then we had another one here, and back in August 2019, also an inverted cup and handle, right? And target was 6,000, mid 6,000. Same thing for the crash of 2020, for March 2020, for COVID. Was in an inverted cup and handle, and we flushed down to 6Ks. Of course, we had a crash, so it went further lower, much lower. And now, which brings us now to what I'm trying to tell you guys is, like I've noted this on the chart, right? We have a huge inverted cup and handle right here from 69,000 and 47K, right? And that one has a target of 4,500, 3,500. Now, I'm not saying we go there at all. I don't know. I don't know if we get there. That's probably like the worst of the worst outcomes, right? Which we've been reviewing for 5-6 months. But it's a possibility. I don't know. I'll keep some dry powder for that. Like I'll buy definitely 50% at roughly at 12 to 9Ks. I'm happy to do so long term because it's a great opportunity. We're not going to get that if we get there, right? But hey, I mean, this is a possible outcome. I don't know if there will be a crash for any other reason in later on next year, but who knows? You know, that's a possible target for this cup and handle. So I would keep I would keep in mind my you know my mind open for that. Maybe I'll have like 20% in cash waiting for that. Who knows, right? But anyways, so keep that in mind, guys. And before we move on here, let's look at the SOPR on the 3-day here. It looks like we still have some downside to go to be like kind of give and take equal to the previous capitulations at the -9 in this case for the SOPR. So let's wait and see what happens, okay? This chart here, you guys are familiar with this. It's just to give you a summary. This chart, I've used it for the short term mainly in the past, where I've called that all these patterns are bear flags, and every time we break the bear flags, we break down, right? And we see that it's been happening every time, right? Bear flag here, flush, bear flag, flush, bear flag, flush, with some sideways, and then we took out the lows. So it makes sense that we go down and test all those support areas. And the lower support area here is at 7,600, 400, or 8,000 right here. If needed, if we need to go lower, that could be a good level here, which is the old support going back to 2019, passing by 2020, and as such. So that would take us down to capitulation here at 7,800 or 9,000 if needed, right? Now, I'm not sure if that's going to play out, but that's something to keep in mind, that there's some support here at 8K or 7,400 to 6,400, which is a strong support if we need it. All right, let's move on, guys. Let's go to the Fibonacci channel chart. This is from previous video. If you guys remember, I said that at that time I'm rooting for the red scenario to play out, with the red bearish scenario, with a sell-off to 10K or and 9Ks for a final bottom. And there could be that we should be watching for capitulation at the bottom support here, which is similar to this diagonal, Fibonacci diagonal here. We bottom always at this area. So, and here if we look here in 2018, we bottom at 3,300 right there. In this case here, we also did the same thing back in 2019, 2020. This provided us as support. And in our case here, the plan is, if we get here, we would bottom roughly around this area, 8,000 to 7,400. It could be a little lower, but if we get the opportunity, I will be we would be very lucky to get it, right? And get in and buy at those levels. So let's keep an eye on this, but yeah, if we get there, I'll be very happy to buy there. So let's see what happens. And if you see here, I was making comparison at that time with hey, that if we're bullish and we don't make lower lows, which we did end up doing lower lows on Bitcoin, that this would be a very possible scenario that we would get Bitcoin to rally up to 25, 26Ks. But that failed now for the FTX, because of the FTX collapse or anything else. That scenario failed. So right now, this is out of the picture, so I think right now I'll just stick to this plan and see what happens comes January if we do get that sell-off, last final leg down for this final bottom, okay? And finally, this chart here is a comparison of 2018 bottom to compared to 2022. I was one of the first ones that compared this. Hold on, guys. Let me grab this with a full screen. In the last video, I discussed this, although the audio was bad. I think if you haven't listened to it, I think I'll give you a recap here. I was saying that the current action on Bitcoin sure is very similar. If you look at my green axis, 2018-19 compared to 2022, we did very, very similar move of accumulation initially, which was looking like accumulation on Bitcoin. Now, what happened is we kept ranging within the 34, roughly in that range, right? Roughly 34% from the bottom. We topped at the 23, 24, 25K on Bitcoin. Similar to 2018, 2019. But the problem is, if you look here, that last portion here, or the last rally here, which is supposed to be here in accumulation in 2019, which it is an accumulation. But if you look at 2022, that failed to accumulate, and that was the sign I told you guys that Bitcoin is not accumulating here, because we lost the fifth. Back in the days, we held 50% fib, and in this case, we lost a 50% fib, right? And we actually showed weakness on Bitcoin, and it went down and sold down to the bottom here, and to the bottom of the range. And I told you guys at that time that if we go rally back up here, I do want to see a wick towards 23, 24K and a retest of the 50% fib, but that failed epically, right? I was having that green scenario there to show you that it has to hold 20K, otherwise Bitcoin would sell down, and it did, right? And then we got the FTF collapse news here. But then we failed. You know, there's a lot of indicators like that we failed. So if you had a stop loss here, that was great, because after that we flushed down very hard towards 15,500. And we never really broke the top of the descending triangle here like we did here, and we did not start a big bullish rally like we did in 2019. So far everything is pointing at the fact that, yeah, like I told you at that time, I was siding with a distribution pattern. I told you guys this is distribution, not accumulation, and I was correct. So right now, right, we are down here. We are looking at signs of accumulation. I'm not seeing any, and this epically failed. So now this comparison, I'm not going to present it anymore on the next video. But what I want to use this chart for here is show you guys that now we're selling off. We're here. We held that support, which is the horizontal logarithmic support. That's 15,000. I think we are going to go down and sell down towards 11 to 10K, right? That will be the next level. Now we could stop at 12K. If we do stop at 12K, I'll definitely look to start buying there. If we continue holding up 12K, if we get there and we hold it up into January, then I'll be willing to buy there. But this chart is telling me that 11 or anything close to here, 12 to 11 to 10K is a buy, right? Now, if we go lower, I don't know if we get there, that would be like we are seeing with the other charts and models I've presented, is that 8K and 7,400 will be a great area to buy. So we'll see what happens, but this is what I'm looking at. Now, if I wanted to look at a bull scenario here, again, I would want to see Bitcoin regain 18Ks and then test 20K, back test 19,500, right? Give and take 19,000, 19,500, and then go up, break that descending triangle, and go rally towards 24K, which is, again, the target I've given you earlier is on the chart of the bear log parallel channel. But what I think would happen is if we get there, the bullish scenario, I think we would go back down. We would retest 19,400, give and take, or 19,000. And maybe we would form a nice inverted head and shoulders, which we have never seen Bitcoin do as a bottom bull reversal in a bear market, because it's always been like Adam and Eve or double bottom. But hey, that would be a nice change for a while, that we would see an inverted head and shoulder and a breakout to retest 30Ks or 40Ks, maybe something like this, right? Comes like March or April. But we'll see what happens, guys. I think that's it for the Bitcoin market update. And really, at this point, I think we are in the takeaway is we are in a bear market bottoming range. The timing is December to February for the bottom to form, as we've seen before. And should we break 24K, right, then that would mark the start of the bull market again, right? But for now, we are here. We're getting that next leg down. Nothing shows that we are accumulating. It still shows that we're in distribution pattern heading towards the last leg down. We're in the progress of that last leg down towards the final bottom. So I would think, be patient. Don't rush into things. The market may